Hey game coders, this is the third video in a little space game tutorial. We're going to be taking a look at firing. So you'll see here I've got actually two modes of firing I'm going to go over. One is what I like to call absolute firing. So I press the button here, I fire. Now what's the absolute part? Well, the absolute part is this. The bullet is going to go for my spaceship at a speed of 8 in whatever direction I'm facing. So you can see here that even as I speed up, I can actually be going faster than the bullets I'm making. And if I'm going backwards, it does this sort of effect here. The other thing to notice, if I'm going sideways and I hold down my firing, look at each bullet really closely. The bullets are going straight to the right. So they're not grabbing any of my motion of me moving upwards. So that's part one I'm going to show you. The other type of firing I'm going to show you here is going to be something I like to call sort of relative motion of the bullets to the ship. So check this out. It's going to look the same at first, right? So my ship still fires, but check this out when I start moving fast. When I start moving fast, my bullets still go out at a speed of 8 relative to my ship. So I can never pass my own bullets here. When I'm going backwards, it gives that effect, which is a lot different. I'll just slow down a bit here. And you'll notice when I fire straight left, my bullets actually follow me downwards, right? Now, you either like this or you don't like this. I like it because it's more like a real game and it gives a bit more cool visuals as you're flying around. But let's show you how to code these two in here and how to get these bullets working so you get some cool firing happening in your space game. Okay, so here we go. So here's the first way. The first way you saw there, let me just walk you through everything I've done, is I have player create. I've given two new variables. So one is called fire time. This is keeping track of the time since the last person, or sorry, since the last time the player fired. So it's 0 seconds. Fire delay, 0.07 seconds. This is going to be how long the player has to wait between firing. So this isn't long. This is why you have that rapid firing. Fiddle with the numbers all you want. How do we use these variables? Right here in the step event, I've added a little page with fire code. Here we go. You're going to see here that the first thing I do is I take the fire time and I make it go up. Now what I'm making it go up by is I'm making it go up by how much time has passed since the last step of the program. A lot of people use alarms and simple counters. I've used them in my other videos. But here I'm using the actual time, which is a variable called delta time. Delta time is how many millionths of a second has passed since the last step. That's why I'm dividing it by a million. It's a very big number because it's millionths of a second, right? That's a very short amount of time. So I divide by a million, and this is now adding on the number of seconds. Then I quickly ask if they're pressing the space bar and the fire time, right? How much time has passed, is greater than the fire delay, right? 0.07. Then they've waited long enough, they're allowed to fire. So I make a bullet. Now here comes the good stuff with the bullet. The first example I showed you, the absolute bullet speed, is I just say, hey, bullet I just made, set your speed to 8 and set your direction to my ship's image angle, right? Which way my little triangle ship is pointing. And the bullet flies off. Now, that's very simple, and that's fine. It makes the bullets basically just go at a speed of 8 in a direction. It doesn't matter what speed the ship is traveling. None of that's taken into account, so it doesn't quite look realistic. And you will get the ship if it's moving fast. When it's firing forward, it could be moving faster than its bullets. But that's the basics. And then I set the fire time back to 0. Okay, so this fire time variable gets set back to 0 so it can start counting up again next step to control when the player gets to fire based on the fire delay. So that's a very standard fire delay code. Okay, not too bad. So with that one in place, it ends up looking like this. So you'll see my bullets, they do not follow me. They just sort of leave and go straight up. And if I fire forward and I go too fast, I'm actually making bullets and passing them, right? And when I go backwards, it really spreads them out a lot too, right? So This way, not totally the best. So let's make a little improvement on that and make this better. And this is the second way. And this is the only code I'm adding here, just this little width block. And I'm going to use what we've used in our previous videos, which is the motion add. Okay, and the other statement. So let's explain this here. I've made a bullet. The bullet has an ID number, right? That GameMaker knows it by, and that's why I'm saving it in this variable bullet ID, BID. What you can do is you can give the bullet that speed of 8 and the direction the ship is facing, but then I also want to give it the motion of the ship. I want it to add it on to its base speed here. So what I do is I say, hey, with BID. So let's say that bullet had an ID of 3 million, right? BID is 3 million. Hey, 3 million. Motion add, run this code. Now what I want to do is I want to add, and motion add will add the direction and the speed. I want to add the direction the ship is moving. Now I don't say direction, because if I say direction, I'm now running this code inside of the bullet. I don't want the bullet to add its own direction, right? I want the bullet to use the spaceship's direction. Now I was coding in the player originally. Whenever you go into a with statement, if you want to access variables from that object that you were in before the with statement, you just put other. Other basically just takes you out of the with statement and grabs the direction variable of the player's spaceship. And then the same thing with the speed. I want the speed of the player to be added on in the player's direction, so I say other dot speed. So if the player's direction was 45 and a speed of 3, then 3 is added on in the direction of 45 to the current speed and direction that I just gave the bullet up here. And that's that little bit of extra. And that's really it. And this causes the relative motion. So now when I run this, what you end up getting is you get bullets that always leave my ship going forward at 8. I'm not going to pass my bullets, right? No matter how fast I go, my bullets always fire 8 faster than me, right? Because I've added on my speed to the bullet's 8. And when I fire up, you can notice here that the bullets coast with me. Now obviously you can set some limits onto the speeds and everything, right? But that's sort of the basics, right? It adds for some nice effects, especially if you fly backwards, right? The bullets sort of do that slow scatter. It's a neat little effect. But anyways, that's the difference and a little start to you guys adding relative motion onto your objects. Thanks for watching this video. In the next one, I'm going to go over adding gravity. Now gravity, I'm going to do it once just with one object, and then I'll do a follow-up video where how do you add it with multiple planets so we can start to do the cool things like slingshot around planets and black holes. Very easy effects, only a couple lines of code. Thanks for watching.